Let Rand cook turned into Rand got cooked. Tennessee Titans fire General Manager Rand Carthon today, and we had an emergency podcast. We talked about that. If you missed it, go check out that episode. We definitely didn't hold back at all. So we just I figured this is such a shocking impact. So many people have had things to say, and I was going to watch the NBC on NFL Mike Florio talk, and then I was like, I just need to. I'm just going to do a video, and I'm going to react to this and watch this and react to it, and that's what we have here today. So this is him discussing the Titans firing GM Rand Carthon, and I have told he says, and he doesn't hold back as well. So I'm here to see. I'm disappointed. I'm pissed. I've kind of got to settle down a little bit from it, but I'm still. It don't make no sense. I am beyond confused, upset, and furious. And I don't even think those words justify exactly how I'm feeling right now about the Tennessee Titans firing Rand Carthon. But without further ado, here we go.
It's a special edition of PFTPM, and the fact that it took us a little while to fire up the engine is reflective of how irrelevant the Tennessee Titans currently are with respect to the rest of the league. Because usually when there's a big move like the firing of a general manager, we activate pretty quickly to do a video. This time around, when the Titans fired GM Rand Carthon, we were just kind of like, okay, all right. Well.
He said, this is how irrelevant the Tennessee Titans are, that this happened and we didn't even care. Our job is to create content when news breaks. They're so irrelevant they broke this news and we didn't even care. Oh, shit.
Well, let's just keep working. And then the light finally went off. We probably should do a video because it's a pretty big deal when a GM gets fired. But with the Titans, I don't know that anything qualifies as a big deal because most of the time I don't know what the Titans are doing. Earlier today, Devin McCourty and I discussed on PFT Live the importance of having a GM and a coach who are joined at the hip, their legs tied together, operating in a three-legged race with both falling or both running. Both go or both stay. Some teams, the teams that are dysfunctional, will fire the GM, keep the coach, hire a GM, fire the coach, fire the GM, which is exactly what the Titans have done over the last 3 years. John Robinson, the GM of the team, was fired during the 2022 season. Then Mike Vrabel was fired after Rand Carthon had been hired as the GM. Vrabel fired after 2023. Now after 2024, at a time when people were wondering whether or not Brian Callahan would be one and done in Tennessee, he's staying. Carthon is going.
And see, this is what's baffled me, other Titans content creators, podcasters. Like, if you're firing Rand, Callie should definitely be a package deal with this. That's a situation where if you fire one, you should fire both. The only situation where you should be able to fire one is if you only fire Callahan and you just say, we collectively got that hire wrong and we're going to try to do better on the next hire. But there's no world where you fire the general manager for who he hired and the lack of performance from the guy he hired, but you don't fire that hiree as well for his lack of performance. It don't make no sense.
The Titans announced the move today, and it's confusing beyond the fact that the Titans have created a situation where the GM can blame the coach and the coach can blame the GM.
Everybody.
I don't have enough talented players. They're not doing enough with the talented players I'm finding. That is a recipe for chronic dysfunction. And dysfunctional teams do dysfunctional things. And you look at the Titans. But for the fact that Mike Vrabel willed them to the number one seed a couple of years ago,
he is not holding back on calling us a dysfunctional franchise. Like, what's the over or under how many times this guy's going to call us a dysfunctional franchise and use the word dysfunctional? It might be a drinking game at this point. Take a shot every time he says dysfunctional. You maybe will be able to forget about this shit show as the Tennessee Titans.
They have been chronically dysfunctional under the ownership of Amy Adams Strunk. And they're not alone. There are, 10, 12 teams that continue to make bad decisions, continue to not operate the team effectively, continue to not be competitive, while also continuing to make a lot of money. That's another point Devin and I made today. For all the struggles of Shad Khan as owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's got a $360 million yacht. Every year, the books are balanced. The black ink far outweighs the red. Maybe that's why it's the new de facto uniform for the owners to have the black T-shirt under the dress shirt. I was going to do that, but, I mean, I think you have to have at least $1 billion, and I figured out earlier today I would have to live 3,000 years at my current rate of pay to save $1 billion, but
see, this is where I don't like this narrative. Oh, well, you're just fans. You got to accept it. They're going to make money regardless. The thing that I don't think everybody is realizing in this situation is that, yes, we have a new stadium. The city has helped finance that stadium, and they're expecting some money back on their taxes, on their ticket sales, on Titans merch sale. So, yeah, you might make money in your other businesses, and like some of these other teams that they have the luxury of, they don't have no one to breathe down the owner's back because I'm already in a stadium. We're paying for what we're doing. Amy's moving into the stadium and asked the city to help fork a lot of that bill. And you got to pay taxes back in return. So when they start seeing that, hey, we're not getting back in hotels for the season, for the games. We're not getting back in ticket sales and merch, and however they fully got their contract laid out, we're not making that back. So now the city's like, hey, we need to make money because you told us we was going to, this was our ROI. This is our rate, our return. And you oversold what you said you was going to be, and we need you to make up for that. So there is things we can do as fans. We can hurt their pocketbooks. I know they're billionaires and other business endeavors ain't gonna hurt, but we can hurt this one. We can hurt Miss Amy's reputation as the and finances book as the Tennessee Titans. We can hurt that, which then hurts sponsorships, hurts other things as well. But y'all saw the stadium was Sunday against the Texans. Nobody was there. That's a start. But if we're sick of this as fans and how they treat us and don't explain nothing to us and constantly move the goalpost and change the job description while people are actively in the job and then trying to make it that seem like they're the ones that's wrong, even though they moved the goalpost on what the expectation was for this job during the job. Like, I'll let him get back.
the black is the black ink that's everywhere. For all 32 teams. There's no team that's losing money. No team has lost money. They'd have to try. It's Brewster's millions to try to lose money in the NFL. That's how well the teams are doing. So they're all winning, regardless of whether they're winning on the field. The Titans winning financially, getting that swanky new stadium. They got the deal done to get taxpayer money, et cetera, et cetera. Who cares if you win? Who cares if you're functional in the football operation? Now, they seem to be trying, but how effective is it going to be when you never press the reset button and just start over? Like the Jets are doing. Got to give them credit. Start over. Clean slate. No holdover. No second chance for the GM to get it right. We're not going to let a GM hire 3 coaches before we realize he might be the problem. So what the Titans are doing, and this is where
I don't know. I was never a fan of firing Rand. I just wasn't. I don't think he did a bad job. I just don't think he did a bad job. I was not for firing Rand at all. I don't see why you would. I don't see why you would have fired Rand at all. I could see many reasons why you'd fire Callie and let that one go. I just don't see it why. I don't.
it becomes even stranger, or at least more unconventional. Maybe it'll work. Chad Brinker came in as assistant GM at or about the time Carthon was hired. Last year, Brinker was promoted to president of football operations. Well, now what's going to happen? Brinker is inheriting final authority over all football decisions. So he's basically the GM, even though he's the president of football operations. The statement from the Tennessee Titans, and more accurately, the article, very lengthy and kind of confusing in its structure, article that's posted at the website, ultimately contains quotes from the team's CEO, making it clear that Brinker will break ties with respect to the team's roster. And
basically
let me just stop
GM
there for a second. I don't like to think of it in terms of breaking ties, because there shouldn't be ties that need to be broken. And when someone breaks a tie, that means someone's going to be upset with the outcome. The
Facts,
best
yes.
organizations find a way to reach a consensus. There's never a winner or a loser. This isn't Judge Wapner going back into his chambers for 5 minutes and coming out and telling the coach and the GM who wins and who loses. So
Right,
I
yeah,
don't like
facts.
that phraseology. I don't like that vibe. There should never be ties to be broken. Everyone should be on the same page. And in the best organizations, everyone is. So Brinker is going to be in charge. He will be the final authority on all football matters, including the roster. Basically, they're looking for a director of scouting to hold the
Yes.
title of GM.
Yes.
It's not a GM job.
No.
It won't
And
be a
nobody
GM job.
wants
And
that.
here's where they're going to have a challenge. If they're looking for someone from another team, the fact that the GM won't carry final say could complicate the effort to take someone who's currently under contract. They might have to go outside of the industry, at least the current 32-team industry, like the 49ers had to do when they hired Kyle Shanahan, who ran the show. They had to go find a John Lynch to come in because they couldn't pluck a director of scouting or some other front office employee from another team who didn't have final say over the roster in the draft. So they're creating a unique situation.
So basically, they're doing exactly what Vrabel asked to do that they fired him for. So now they fired Vrabel for asking to do this and for it to be set up like this. Then after 1 year after firing Vrabel, they abandon their vision and start executing the plan that Mike Vrabel told them to execute. That's what we're doing? We're executing the plan of the guy we fired that said wasn't right, wasn't good enough. We remember that Miss Amy statement. That one was long as hell when she fired Vrabel about why this is not acceptable. And we're not just focused on more wins than losses and winning championships. We all saw that statement. So I don't, I don't get
On the
this.
fly, they're giving more power to Brinker. And this raises a question under the Rooney Rule. And I know that whenever you mention that phrase, there will be many eyes that roll. But here's the problem. It's a rule that's still on the books, and the NFL will defend it. And the NFL has shown no inclination to get rid of it. So it's like any other rule. It's like holding, pass interference, tampering, anything. The rule has to be respected. I've asked the league how the Rooney Rule factors into this decision to take the final authority over football decisions from the GM, give it to Chad Brinker, who's the president of football operations, was promoted into that job last year. I don't think there was a Rooney Rule compliant search. I've asked the league that as well for Brinker to get that promotion. And there clearly was no search whatsoever for Brinker to get the authorities.
Hold on. Is he saying Tennessee Titans broke the Rooney Rule when they promoted Brinker last year? Is that what he's saying? Uh, that scares me because I don't know enough about that rule, but it's possible what he's explaining it, and we got enough bad stuff going our way and shit fucking up that we don't need the league to see and find out, or not even the league to find out, that we actually did break a rule, a Rooney Rule, and did something like that for then the league and also to find it out. And then to take away a draft pick or something from us? Because they're not just going to do money for that. They're going to do money and something more serious for an owner. If I'm not mistaken, when New England was cheating back in the day filming practices, didn't they take draft picks away from them? So shit, that scares me because then now if the NFL finds this to be true, we're also here stuck at the mercy of the NFL and how they're going to punish the Tennessee Titans for this. Please say it ain't so.
Look, here's the reality. Like most other NFL rules, there are ways to creatively work around it. And it kind of feels like that's what the Titans did last year in moving Brinker up and this year in giving Brinker the extra job duties. So moving forward, it's Brian Callahan as the coach. Chad Brinker as the guy who's in charge of the football operations, basically the GM, the de facto GM. I think I
Yeah,
said de facto 3 times. The over-under was 2.5, so cash your ticket. And then they're going to find a GM who isn't really a GM. He can tell friends and family, he can impress strangers by saying he's the general manager of the Tennessee Titans, but the general manager is Chad Brinker.
yeah.
But he's the president of football operations. He's the general manager with a better title, basically.
Basically.
He's got a swanky title and all the power as if he was the GM. And one of the things they say in the article, and it's true, different teams do it different ways. They're doing it their way. But the way the Titans have done things under Strunk's ownership have not gone well. But for the time that they had
No.
Vrabel as the head coach, and then they ran him off, which they shouldn't have done. As evidence,
Everybody in the mainstream media keeps saying, y'all know how I feel. I am still not a fan of y'all firing Vrabel. I still think that was a bad choice. I understand how some people have an argument why he should be fired, and I get that part. I get how you can have that argument. I don't agree with it. I still don't think it's a reason to fire him, but I understand how you have that. In Rand's situation, there's none of that. But I don't think they ever set Vrabel up for success. I don't think Vrabel ever had the team and the talent that he actually wanted to show the type of team he was wanting to have. And we'll never probably see that if he gets hired somewhere else. We probably will. But and that's in the past. There's no changing that. But looking back on this, everything Amy did in firing Rand today proved Mike Vrabel to be right about everything he said. That this ownership is incompetent. I know everybody's like he's egotistical and he wants all this power. He knew that this franchise was incompetent. He knew it. And look, he was right.
by the fact that every team with a coaching vacancy this year is going to try to get him. And he's probably going to land in New England. And they're probably going to be happy that he did. So, we'll see what they do going forward. But if I was Brian Callahan, I would at least not buy in
Facts.
Tennessee.
Facts.
And if you did buy a house last year, I think about getting a realtor ready because we know how this game is going. If the Titans are bad again next year, who's going to go? Well, the way that the pattern is unfolded
Callahan?
for the Tennessee Titans the past few years, the coach is the one to go next. And then the new GM
Yep.
will hire the coach that GM wants to put in place. The only thing that could save Callahan is if Brinker, kind of behind the scenes, was the guy who picked Callahan last year. If Callahan is Brinker's guy, then they work together in collaboration with this glorified scout who will be the GM to build the kind of team they're looking for. And the stakes are
I
high
hate this.
because
God,
they're
I
the
hate
first pick in
this.
the draft and in every other round. They earned it by being bad this year. And bad they've been. From the first seed in the AFC 2 years ago to the first overall pick. That's a quick disintegration of a team that was in Super Bowl contention not that long ago. We'll see how it goes for the Tennessee Titans. But like the Jaguars, they're in a division where the teams are bad. And if you're bad long enough, nobody pays attention to you anymore. And I'd say right now the two most irrelevant teams in the National Football League are the Jaguars and the Titans. They're competing for the top spot. One is looking for a coach, not a GM. One is looking for a GM, not a coach. And
Damn.
it's amazing to say that of the three, the Jets are the ones that have their act together because they're looking for both. They'll probably screw it up, but I'm sorry. Sorry, Woody. There's a chance they'll screw it up, but at least they're looking for both. Clean sweep, start over. And once you start over, the key is everybody's got the same accountability. Everybody
Yes.
goes or everybody stays. And when you have that attitude, like the Giants had, in keeping both Joe Shane as GM and Brian Daboll as head coach, you're more likely to develop continuity. And you also erase the idea that if things are going bad, and it's going to happen every year for at least a third, if not half of the league. I mean, 14 teams make the playoffs, 18 don't. There's 4 or 5 teams that almost made the playoffs, and then there's the teams that were dead in the water. Those are the teams where the stress increases, and there's a temptation, if you're the coach, to blame the GM, and if you're the GM, to blame the coach.
I'm just gonna stop there. I get his points. I can't believe he just said we're the most irrelevant team in the NFL. We went 2 years ago, two years ago, we went from being one of the most feared and respected tough teams in the NFL. Yeah, the media might not have talked about us all the time, but when other players played us, if you don't believe me, go watch Netflix QB and listen to Patrick Mahomes talk about playing a Mike Vrabel Tennessee Titans. To now we're the most irrelevant fucking team in the NFL. How far we have fallen in such a short time. This shit's a fucking disgrace. Miss Amy needs to get in the presser and answer for this shit. It's unbelievable.